Islamic Dote Part 5. Hey there, y'all. How y'all doing? I pray that Allah gives you His peace and blessings. Islam is one of the Abrahamic faiths along with Christianity and Judaism, and we've been going over some of the basic core foundations of Islam. In the last episode, we introduced you to the Holy Kaaba, the holiest sanctuary and first masjid, place of worship, in the direction of which all Muslims pray their salah. Today, we're going to give you a breakdown of Hajj pilgrimage. At least once in their lifetime, every Muslim must book their tickets, buckle up, pack their bags, and travel to this holy site in order to perform the Hajj ceremony. It is a demonstration of humanity's united dedication to the worship of the one God, Allah. And it is a ritual which was perfected in the time of Prophet Muhammad. However, the ritual stretches way back to ancient times, and Prophet Ibrahim, who is also seen as the father of monotheism, is said to have been the one to first establish the ceremonial practice. One of the main elements of the Hajj is to to go round and round the Kaaba. That means to travel around the holy Kaaba in a circle. In Arabic, this is referred to as tawaf, and Muslims will do this 7 or more times. The life of a Muslim does not revolve around him or herself, but rather around God. The tawaf is symbolic of this concept that our lives ought to be dedicated to Allah. This encircling of the holy house of God is perhaps the most famous and well-recognized parts of the Hajj pilgrimage. You've probably noticed that the Muslims are wearing white cloths while performing the Hajj. Well, that's one of the important prerequisites of the Hajj pilgrimage, and it's referred to as ihram. The ihram is a demonstration of the Muslims' detachment from material possessions, their humbleness and dedication, and it is also considered as a sign from Allah that, look, you can suffice with much less than you thought. Another important element of the Hajj ritual is running or walking briskly between the Safa and Marwa. Why? What is that? I hear you say. Well, remember when we said that the Hajj pilgrimage is something which dates back to the time of Prophet Ibrahim? If you can recall the incident that took place when Prophet Ibrahim's wife and child were stranded in the desert, perhaps you'll remember that the wife of Prophet Ibrahim was desperate for water, and so she ran this way and that way, back and forth, several times, calling out to Allah. Finally, a spring of water gushed forth from the ground beneath the feet of the baby boy. The rushing of the Muslims between Safa and Marwa 7 times is replicating the steps of the noble wife of Prophet Ibrahim, and Muslims are to remind themselves of how, at the most desperate of times, if one truly cries out to Allah, He will respond. The spring water that gushed forth is known as Zamzam, and the Muslims would quench their thirst of that very spring. Another important aspect of the Hajj rituals is for the pilgrims to journey to the mountain of Arafat and Muzdalifah, where they will be fully engaged in the worship of Allah. It's from here that they will then attend what is referred to as the stoning of the devil, where they will witness with their own eyes the very stone pillars from where Prophet Ibrahim was tempted by the devil. In the same way that Prophet Ibrahim casted stones at the devil, Muslims will replicate this act, symbolic of their rejection of Satan. Muslims are reminded to introspect as they find 7 pebbles and think of 7 spiritual flaws they may possess before throwing each of these pebbles at the stone pillars, thus ridding their lives of the temptations and whispers of the accursed devil. Genius. If you back to the story of Prophet Ibrahim, you'll recall that God commanded him to sacrifice his son. Well, this was very hard for Ibrahim. He showed his willingness to do it, and God accepted his pure intention, commanding him to sacrifice a ram or sheep in place of his son. Well, this is what the Muslims do at the end of the Hajj pilgrimage. They will sacrifice an animal. The meat of these animals is then distributed among the poor. This sacrifice is symbolic of the fact that Muslims are ready to sacrifice themselves entirely for the sake of Allah. And finally, Muslims will show their complete dedication to Allah and their resounding faith and willingness to detach from materialism by cutting their hair. Men will shave their heads bald, and women will just trim their hair. That's it. The Hajj pilgrimage is a fascinating and beautiful journey that takes Muslims from the darkness of selfishness, arrogance, materialism towards selflessness, humbleness, and complete detachment. And it truly is a life-changing experience. That's all we have time for today. We'll see you next time on Islamic Dote.